Well, good morning. I'm here with Julie Inman Grant, who is the eSafety Commissioner. And Julie is heading up our federal government's effort to make the internet a safer place for everybody online, but of course, especially children. And yesterday we had a day, the Safer Internet Day, which was focused particularly on cyberbullying. Now, Julie, bullying has been around forever, I guess. How has the internet and the cybersphere changed it?
Right, as you say, bullying has been around from time immemorial.
Bad old-fashioned bullying.
Right, and what we're seeing are social and behavior issues playing out in the technological sphere. What makes this different and more insidious is that the bullying becomes much more pervasive. We know for young people, they're inextricably tied to their devices. So the bullying doesn't just stop at the school gate, it follows them into their homes, into their pockets. And as you said yesterday, Mr. Prime Minister, there's that element of Malcolm. The humiliation can be amplified, and about 30% of the young people we talk to say social exclusion is the primary form of bullying that they face online.
Now, if anyone has some questions or comments, make sure to let us know what they are, because we'll address some of them later in this discussion. Let's talk about the anonymity online. The internet and so many applications offer the ability to make, in effect, anonymous, comments, trolling. How big a factor is this in the impact of cyberbullying?
Well, I think anonymity certainly can play a role, particularly if you're an insidious predator and you're trolling somebody in a relentless fashion. But there are plenty of people that we see using pseudonyms or perfectly happy to let their name or identity be known. Again, there's a complex range of factors. We don't know. We can't say definitively what drives bullying in any case, but. Bullying can still happen regardless of whether or not there is anonymity.
Well, we should have zero tolerance for bullying. I mean, it is, I think we both agreed yesterday, that it's everyone's responsibility, every adult's responsibility, to ensure that the children we're responsible for, whether as parents or teachers, treat each other with respect. We treat them with respect, they should treat others with respect. And so we must do everything we can to stop bullying. But tell me, Julie, what more do you think parents and teachers should be doing now, particularly in understanding what the kids they're responsible for are doing online?
Right. Well, there's some really basic things that parents can do. The moment we're giving them a digital device, and some kids are getting iPads at the age of 3, we need to talk to them about the digital do's and don'ts. We need to talk about their rights and responsibilities. We need to talk about respect and consent, and we need to model that good behavior for our kids. So we can't be on our kids about screen time while we're scrolling through our Twitter feed at the dinner table.
No, this is possibly a sore point with everyone. I think some of my family would make that point about me too, but all of us need to set an example, particularly with the younger ones.
Right.
If we're on our smartphone all the time, what are they going to take from that apart from feeling ignored?
Right.
They'll want to do the same.
Yep. Also, I think it's really important that we as parents let our kids know we're going to be there to support them whatever they experience online, whether they experience something confronting or inappropriate. We need to be there to guide them in being as engaged in their online lives as we are in their everyday lives.
Very well said. Now, before we come to some questions from our viewers, I guess we would describe you all out there as viewers. Tell us about the work of the eSafety Commission, exactly what it is, what you're doing. It was set up originally as the Children's eSafety Commission. In fact, after we came into government in 2013, it's evolved. So just give us a rundown.
Sure. Well, we're very fortunate here in Australia that we have a nationally government-backed eSafety office we're kind of that one-stop shop for information resources and a number of reporting tools for any Australians experiencing a range of different online abuses. So eSafety.gov.au is the URL. We have an iParent portal, which has a rich range of resources that tell parents what apps and services their kids are using, whether or not they have chat functions, if there are safety and privacy settings, and how to start conversations with their kids. We have the Young and eSafe platform, which is developed for young people by young people. We know we need to engage young people through video and in engaging ways. Otherwise, we're going to lose them. So this is an award-winning program.
So what if a child or an adult is being bullied or harassed online? They contact you. What do you do about it?
I think that's the most extraordinary thing about the services the eSafety Office provides Australians, and young Australians in particular. We have the only government-led cyberbullying reporting line anywhere in the world. And the reason that this is important is because prevention, of course, is the best cure. Education and awareness is important, but we want early intervention. We want young people to know that they can come to us and we can help them through this. So if a young person experiences serious cyberbullying online, they report it to a social media site and it's not taken down. We have very strong relationships with the social media sites, and we've helped 700 young Australians thus far take down serious bullying content that wouldn't have ordinarily been taken down.
And what are the apps that are mostly used by bullies, cyber bullies?
Yeah, so any of the major platforms are going to see a lot of, it's really, the numbers of probability. You're going to see a lot of bullying on Facebook and Instagram, wherever the kids are.
Right.
You're going to see it on Snapchat. Then there are anonymous messaging apps that are out there.
What do you think about them? Should they? I mean, do you think they should they be allowed to be used in the Apple Store? Is that?
Well, I think so. Saraha is the most recent app that's being discussed. It's actually been taken down from the Apple Store. It was developed in Saudi Arabia as a way to provide co-workers with feedback.
Okay.
It took off in the Western world. It's been used by
So it was probably
teenagers.
quite liberating in that context.
Right. So what we're seeing here is just
It's now being misused.
Yes, misuse. A platform that was developed for a certain reasons has been misused in another way. So before Saraha, there was FormSpring and there was Ask FM, and people left because they didn't put the proper safety protections in there.
Right.
And they were used for bullying purposes. And so this is another important thing, and why I think the app companies and social media companies want to work with us. They don't want bullying content on their sites, but when you've got 1 billion tweets a day, or you've got 2 billion customers, it is difficult for them to control the volume. So we serve as a safety net for Australians that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, and I guess that's what I really want to get across to people. There is a place they can go for help. They don't need to suffer in silence. We don't want bullying to escalate to the point where people feel there's no way out. There is help, and we partner with Kids Helpline as well. And so we always assess, the mental or emotional state of the kids that come into us and refer them on to help.
Well, Julie, that is great. It's a great initiative, and it's world leading. I've got some questions from some of our viewers. Craig asks, why can't people just use the block button, freely available on most, if not all, social media platforms?
Yeah, I used to talk about brimming, blocking, reporting, ignoring, and muting. So there are some strategies involved. What's your strategy, Mr. Prime Minister, when you're being trolled?
I don't pay any attention to it.
You ignore it.
Yeah, just ignore it.
And that's a viable strategy. When you think about a young person who hasn't been in season during question time, may not have the same kind of resilience that you have, I would absolutely recommend using the blocking and muting tools, but also the reporting tools. 50% of young people don't report bullying to an adult.
Okay, that raises another question from Amanda. How do you get kids to tell you that they're being bullied?
Well,
how do you get your kids, as a parent, or your class to tell you if you're a teacher?
Well, I think that comes back to that earlier advice. Talk early and often with your kids. Keep the lines of conversation open. know what services they're using, know who they're talking to, talk to them about it. And if you're providing them with technology early and you have those conversations, when they hit those teenage years, when they really don't want to tell you anything anymore, and my tween is getting close to that, it won't seem unnatural that you're asking. And again, the point is to connect with your kids rather than to disconnect from the device. We see a lot of that happening.
Yes,
We
that's
don't
good. Just say that again. There's a connect with your kids rather than disconnect with the device.
Yeah, and that's the issue
Very
that
good
I
advice.
have with banning technologies or banning phones or even banning the internet in the house. When you if a kid is afraid to come to you to tell you something bad's happening online because he thinks you're going to take away his technology privilege, that's like taking away his left arm
Right.
in this day and age.
Okay. What do we, Silje asks, what can young Australians do to encourage their friends to be more respectful?
Right. Well, I think there's a really important role for upstanders rather than bystanders. I think the teens I've talked to worry about being a dauber or a snitch. And really, this is about protecting your mates from the online drama that they see. So we're looking at piloting something called a Digital Leaders Program, which is a peer-to-peer based program where we would train peers across different cliques and across different age groups, provide them with the information that they need to know when their friends might be in strife, because we do know kids talk to other kids. But, again, that's the perennial question. How do you get a child to report to you or talk to you? You have to build a trusted relationship with them.
Yeah, but I like that, being an upstander, not a bystander, because it is someone who is being bullied can feel very isolated. They may not be in the in crowd or in the in clique at school. So standing up for them and putting your arm around them and saying, "I'm here to help,"
Yep.
that's very good. I mean, I think that so much of this is about respect. It's about love. It's about caring for each other. They're the values we need.
It is, and sometimes we have to give tough love. So that might mean being an upstander by going to your mate who is behind the bullying and saying, "Hey, that's not on.
Yes.
Maybe you should take that down. Maybe you should apologize." And this was the point we were making yesterday, Mr. Prime Minister Malcolm.
Yeah.
That we all have a role to play in this. We can't be blinded to the abuse that we see taking place around us. We all have a role to stand up for ourselves, but stand up for others who may be bullied online.
Right. Now, Alex asks, what is the test or criterion for a remark made online to be classified as a threat to safety?
Well, any direct threats of violence or intimidation. So very sadly, of the reports that we're seeing coming into our office, it's really changed in tenor and tone. So 30% of the complaints that we get have direct threats of violence or things like "go kill yourself," "go off yourself."
But they constitute offences, surely.
They're offences. They violate most social media company policies.
But they violate the law.
And they violate
If they're in violence or
the law.
something. Yeah.
And the role that we have at the eSafety Commission, we have a set of civil powers. So, the best thing we feel we can do is get the content taken down so the child doesn't suffer anymore. But we also need to go back to the root causes. So where appropriate, we bring in parents, we bring in the educators, we find out what's happening within the school to really get to the root of the problem. And after the content's taken down, a lot of that sort of melts away. But yeah, the other powers we have are to issue an end user notice. So we can compel someone who's sending serious cyberbullying material to remove the material, to apologize to the person. And then, of course, we've got formal powers to issue takedown notices to the social media sites. And if they're a tier 2 social media provider and they don't comply with our takedown request, we can fine them up to $18,000 a day, which may not be much for most of the behemoths, but there's a lot of reputational damage that comes along with that.
Well, I think that, and Julie, you've worked in the technology, internet sector all your working life, I think, haven't you?
Over 20 years, but don't do the math, please.
No. So you started off with Microsoft, is that right?
Yep, 17 years.
And then you've worked most recently, where we first met was when you were working with Twitter.
That's right.
So you really understand the evolution and development of these social media platforms from the inside.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been a happy coincidence. I'm working on social issues and technology and where they collide, but this online safety has become my passion. And what's wonderful about the eSafety office, even beyond the work that we do around bullying, is we now have a world-first government-backed image-based abuse reporting tool, and we're seeing a lot more so-called revenge porn when people share intimate images without consent, which of course is a very egregious and devastating form of bullying. We're seeing a lot more sextortion, and sextortion directed at young people. So that's when they may be engaging in chat or on an app with someone, they send a nude picture, and then it escalates where the person on the other end threatens to share the image for more money or even more explicit pictures. So we've had about 120 reports for image-based abuse come into our office over the past few months.
Julie, what are the top tips you would have for parents and grandparents? And then I'm going to ask for top messages for children, but let's start with parents and grandparents.
Be engaged in your kids' online lives. Know what they're doing online. Make sure that you're engaging with them. You wouldn't let your child play in a sand pit with a complete stranger. Why would you give them an interconnected device and let them use it unaccompanied? So I'd say that's the best. And again, let them know that you're open to supporting them. I'd encourage people to go to eSafety.gov.au. If they
eSafety.gov.au.
Yep. If you don't know how to have those difficult conversations like, have you seen pornography online? We've actually got scripts there for people who could, so that you can start those conversations as early as 8 or for tweens or for teens, because the kind of conversations you have with your kids are different. And don't let the technology, even if you can't figure out how Snapchat works and that's what your kid's using, a lot of the same principles of respect, responsibility, empathy, consent, resilience, and critical reasoning remain the same regardless of the platform. So you can still have these conversations with your kids.
Okay. And what about as a mum, as the eSafety Commissioner, what the top advice for kids?
Well, I'd say to kids, just back your mates, be vigilant, use technology responsibly. I mean, there's an incredible new kind of peer pressure that kids experience today online to share passwords, for instance, which leads to social engineering and hacking of accountants. You're not a BFF if you're sharing a password. Don't share your passwords.
Don't put in intimate images online anywhere.
Yep. And
don't send them to people.
And don't pressure your girlfriend or boyfriend for those images. That's not on. But get help. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness. We're here to help if you're being seriously cyberbullied. We want to get this content taken down. I have a team of 75 incredibly mission-driven people in the office. We're dedicated to compassionate citizen service, and we really do want to help.
Julie, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
For a safer internet for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.